All right. All right. What's going on, everybody? So we're gonna give it a couple of minutes before we get into the show. It's about 7:04 a.m. here in Calgary. Yeah, we're gonna give it a couple of minutes before we get into the show. But to remind you, as you tune in, the goal of this podcast, the goal of these live streams is to reach athletes that are trying to build bigger and better versions of themselves in their sport. So, as you tune in, if you can tag a teammate, tag a coach, tag a friend, tag someone who is trying to reach the next level as an athlete, someone who is trying to learn what they can do, learn how to cut out the noise, cut through the bullshit, all of that great stuff in order to reach the highest level that they can in their sport. This is where they need to be. This is the live stream they need to be on. So if that reminds you of somebody, then please tag them in the comments, tag them, make sure that they're here, make sure that they're getting this message as well. We're going to get into the show in about a minute. Today, we're going to be talking about the athlete mindset. Today, we're going to be talking about building the athlete mindset. So if you or someone you know is an athlete trying to reach the next level in their sport, please make sure you're tagging someone, make sure you're bringing other people into the live stream to make sure that they get this message as well. If you have not checked out the podcast before, make sure that after this live stream, you go check that out as well. The show is the Elite Development Podcast. You can find it on all major podcast platforms. You can find it on Apple, Spotify. It has its own website, www.elitedevelopmentpodcast.ca. But for now, talking about athlete mindset, let's get into the show in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we're talking about building the athlete mindset. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring this to you all today is because I feel like the mental side of the game is something that we tend to overlook. The mental side of the game is something we tend not to put the same attention on as the physical, as the skill set, as all of those other very important things. But this is one of the most crucial ones that seems, for whatever reason, to not get the same attention. You know, I hear athletes all the time talking about wanting to be the best, talking about wanting to reach the next level, talking about, all these dreams, all these goals, all these huge things that they want to accomplish. And, in those conversations, they talk about the discipline, they talk about the passion, they talk about training and competing, and they talk about needing to do all of these things at a high level in order to achieve their goals. But then when we talk about the mindset, they aren't doing anything to work on that. When we talk about the mindset, they're not putting concentrated time and effort into working on their mind the same way as they are into working on their skills, the same way as they are into working on their body, on their physical health in order to be able to physically compete at that level. And they're not spending the same time working on developing the mindset needed in order to compete at that level. Now, why is this important? Because if you're an athlete and you are trying to reach higher levels in sport, the mental side of the game isn't something that you can overlook. The mental side of the game isn't something you can just hope is going to improve as you get better and as you reach higher levels. Because really and truly, why would it be any different than working on yourself physically? If you did no physical training, no sport-specific training, no anything, why would you expect to be able to reach higher levels in a sport? But if you did no work on your mindset, if you do no work on the mental side of your game, for some reason, athletes think that they're going to continue to reach higher and higher and higher levels in a sport. It's just not how it works. So what I want to talk about today is where the mental side of the game gets in the way, where the mental side of the game screws us up, and then something you can do in order to make sure that it doesn't screw you up anymore. So first off, where does the mental side of the game screw us up? Well, the one expression that I'm going to use in order to get this point across is we need to run our own race. And what I mean when I say that is so often athletes get stuck in this mindset of having to be better than everyone else instead of just having to improve themselves. If you're an athlete right now and you're listening to this, let me know if that resonates. Getting stuck in that mindset of having to show everyone else how good you are, having to be better than everybody else, having to work harder than everybody else, but getting away from simply improving ourselves, getting away from simply trying to be better today than we were yesterday. And the reason that I feel like this gets in the way is because, again, you're so concentrated on trying to be better that you need something to mark that up against. You're so concentrated on trying to be better that you can't just say, well, I improved from where I was yesterday. You have to say, I improved more than that guy, or I improved more than that girl. And the reason this is a problem is because that guy or that girl that you're trying to compare yourself to isn't on the same journey as you. They're on their journey. You don't know when they started competing. You don't know how much they've been training. You don't know what kind of environment they grew up in. But if you're focused on yourself, if you're focused on your own improvement, if you're focused on where you were yesterday, where your skill set's lacking, and what you can do to improve your skill set tomorrow, now that immediately puts you in a better position. And the reason that puts you in a better position is because you are focusing on what you can control. So I'm going to give you guys an example that is back to myself as a business owner. There are just so many similarities between growing a business and building a career in a sport that, I love coming back to this because coming back to this allows me to, again, reflect on my own experiences, but I believe gives you guys all something very important as well, based off of real life experience. I was never a super high level athlete, but one thing I am doing very well at is growing a business and, you know, pursuing a passion, which is something that so many of you out there are trying to do as well. So for my own example, I joined a business coaching course this year. And just in the last couple of months, I actually got into the second level of that course called the $1 Million Mastermind, which is a super exciting thing for me. But as I'm in this group, I'm surrounded every day by people making millions of dollars a year. I'm surrounded every day by incredibly high achievers. And when we go into, group coaching calls, when we go into, things like, as an example, Black Friday, I'm listening to all these people with these huge teams talking about, everything that they're doing moving into Black Friday, or, talking about, this next thing on their agenda as a team. And, these people with teams of 10 to 12 coaches and assistants and all of that, and all of these incredible things that they're doing, and all of this money that they're making, and all of these achievements that they're accomplishing. And my first instinct is to feel bad about myself because I'm not on their level. My first instinct is to feel bad because, oh, they're making more money than me, or, oh, they're doing so much better than me, or, oh, they're getting so much more work done than I am. And then I need to always bring myself back to the fact that these people are further along the journey than I am. I've been doing this a very long time, but the trouble is I've been doing this on my own a very long time. So these people that have been getting coaching on how to develop their business for the last 3 years are further ahead than me. And that's okay because they're not running the same race as I am. I'm running my race and they're running theirs. Now, even if this is a company that works with the same kind of clientele as I do and is, gaining the market share or whatever, spending my time focused on what they're doing, spending my time focused on the fact that I'm not as far ahead as this person or that person or this person or that person isn't ever going to help me improve. Spending my time focused on other people is not going to help me improve, plain and simple. And it's the same for you. So if you're an athlete right now thinking, oh, I'm starting too late in my career, or, oh, I've got, people that are further ahead than me that are doing this, that, or the other thing. And, I need to be doing what that person's doing, or I need to work harder so that I can show that I'm better than this person or that person. Stop. Because spending your time focused on somebody else's race is not going to help you improve. So how do we go about it? How do we fix this problem? Because I understand as I say this, it's much easier said than done. This is still something that I struggle with from time to time. So I understand that I'm not just going to sit here and say, focus on yourself, and then you're going to magically just start focusing on yourself. So how do we fix the problem? How do we make that change and actually start focusing on our own race instead of focusing on the race that everybody else is running around us? The number one thing is working on your mindset every day. Coming back to what we talked about right at the start of the show. So many athletes spend all this time working on the physical, so much time, talking about all these great things that they're going to do, but they're not spending time every day improving themselves mentally to actually be able to reach those levels. So when I say working on our mindset every day, what do I mean? Well, plain and simple, better understanding where you're struggling and better understanding what you can do in order to work through those struggles and in order to continue to progress forward in your own journey. So when that comes to the example I gave about the mastermind, this business coaching program I'm in, the way that I've been working on my mindset every day is quite simple. I have a vision, and every morning I'm reinforcing that vision into my mind with a video, but then also with self-affirmations. And right now, that self-affirmation I'm working with, there's only one, and it's you run your own race. So every morning I watched my vision video, which is talking about where I'm working on being in a year, where I'm going to be in a year. And I remind myself, I'm running my own race. Anything that anyone else out there is doing doesn't matter, because what matters is me improving where I'm at, me getting better, me reaching the next level. And what does that include? For me, because I'm the business owner, again, that includes the success of my athletes. That includes the success of the people that are working with my company. And if I can continue to help them see success, I am going to continue to grow. If I can continue to help my athletes succeed, help my athletes reach new levels, help my athletes set better goals, create better visions, if I can continue to deliver for them, I'm going to continue to grow. So that's where my focus remains. I'm not worried about what someone else is doing with their athletes. I'm not worried about what someone else is doing, building their company. I'm worried about me. And you need to be focused on the same. So the most simple way that I would recommend starting is just like I said there, self-affirmations. Wake up every morning and have it written on sticky notes on your fridge, written on sticky notes on your bathroom mirror, wherever you know you're going to see it. Self-affirmation of I run my own race. And that just is a way to start your day and remind yourself what other people are doing doesn't matter here. What other people are doing is not going to affect where I get to tomorrow. Someone else's success is not my failure. Making sure that you're reminding yourself where other people are at does not affect you. The only thing that affects you is where you're at. The only thing that affects you is what you're doing. And if you can keep your mind there, if you can keep your mind on continuous self-development, continuous self-improvement, now you're going to start reaching new levels. So this kind of goes hand in hand, but where else does our mindset get in the way? Where else do we need to start working on our mental game every day? And this, quite simply, is the opinions of other people. And as you move higher and higher levels in sport, this is going to be the opinions of media, the opinions of random idiots on the internet. All of these things are going to start to come into play more and more. I see a comment coming in on TikTok, and we'll talk about this as soon as the broadcast is done, saying, I want to go pro in MMA. I guarantee you, as a pro in MMA, you're going to be dealing with a lot of people with random shitty opinions about you on the internet. No matter how good you are, you can be the best athlete in the world. There are going to be people who think you suck. There are going to be people who hate you. And if you spend your time thinking about those people, if you spend your time worrying about those people, you're going to distract from why you're there. You're going to distract from your performances when you go into that UFC octagon every day. You're going to distract from your performance when you go into training every day. Because spending your time on the things you can't control gets you nowhere. Spending your time on the things you can't control gets you nowhere. Just to say that one more time, just to let that really sink in. So the opinions of other people, and obviously that's talking about it at a much more extreme level, because, if you're not a pro athlete right now, hopefully you're not dealing with too many shitty opinions about you on the internet, but I know they're out there. And so that's obviously on a much more extreme level. But even as you come up, this is an extremely important thing to remember, because, Max, you're saying you want to be a pro in MMA. If you're sitting there right now and you tell, and again, I don't know your specific situation, but if you tell your parents or your friends or your brother or sister or whoever else it might be that you want to be a pro in MMA, what a lot of people experience is them immediately saying something like, well, come on, be more realistic. What do you really want to do with your life? And if you hear that and you let that distract from what you're doing, again, you're pushing yourself away from that goal. You're pushing yourself away from that goal because someone else's opinion is that that's not realistic for you. Does that make sense? So as you're coming up, as you're developing your career, as you're trying to reach new heights and new levels, you need to spend your time focused on you. You need to spend your time focused on your development. And this doesn't mean cut anyone else out who doesn't think that a career in pro MMA is possible for you. But this means understanding and auditing the time that you're spending with these people. This means understanding and auditing the time you're spending with these people, because you need to be in an environment that supports your success if you're going to succeed. You need to be in an environment that supports your success. And if you're in an environment where people are constantly telling you, be more realistic about your goals, you're in an environment where people are constantly telling you, well, that's probably not going to happen. So what do you really want to do? Well, then eventually you start to believe it. I was watching a video this morning about the law of attraction and how our ideas and our thoughts become our reality. And so the opinions of other people can make or break you, but it's up to you how you react to them. And in turn, it's up to you what you do with them. So if you're an athlete right now listening to this, what I want to really reinforce with you is that your ability to become a professional athlete, your ability to achieve every dream you've set out for yourself, your ability to reach the levels that in your heart you want to reach is up to you. It's up to you. It's just up to what you're willing to put into it. It's up to what you're willing to do about it. And it's up to you. But if you let the opinions of others sneak in there, if you let the people that don't believe in you have power over you, then that's your decision that you're making that is taking away from your success. That's not them. They're doing it hopefully out of love, out of thinking that, they're trying to help you. But the goal here is that you understand that everything you want to achieve is up to you. And the way you get to that mindset is by understanding that it's up to how much work you're willing to put in. Are you willing to move to the city that has the better coaching in order to go all in on this career? Or are you going to go to school full time because your parents told you that that's what they want you to do, and, kind of half pursue MMA on the side, and, then maybe get into a couple of pro fights, maybe not? Or are you going to truly decide, this is what I want to do and I want to give it the best shot that I can? It's up to you. That's it. And to give another example about myself, I remember when I first talked about getting into a career in strength and conditioning, I first talked about getting into a career training athletes. What I was told was if I pursued training athletes for a living, all I was going to amount to was working the front desk at a Good Life gym somewhere. And so that phrase in itself was enough to motivate me to never even work at a Good Life gym as a coach, let alone a front desk worker. But here we are 10 years later, after I was told that. Here we are 10 years later, and I run my own gym. I have a podcast with well over 10,000 downloads, and I work with athletes in 7 different countries. So it's not up to the opinions of those other people. It's not up to that person who told me that all I was ever going to amount to was working at the front desk at a Good Life one day. It's up to me. And I've busted my ass over the last 10 years to put myself in this position. But here I am at 29 years old doing exactly what I want to do, working with exactly the clientele I want to work with, and working with people around the world. And so if you're an athlete right now listening to this and you're hearing a parent or a friend or whoever else it might be telling you your career goals aren't realistic, pursuing a career in sport isn't something that's going to lead anywhere. You're never going to actually succeed at this, whatever it might be. Understand that that person's opinion comes from their limited beliefs about their own life. It doesn't come from you. And if you're willing to put the time in, if you're willing to put the effort in, if you're willing to do what it takes to get there, and you're willing to continue to learn and continue to develop and continue to become the person you need to become in order to get there, anything and everything is possible for you. So when it comes to the athlete mindset, I went off on a little bit of a tangent there because this is something I am extremely passionate about. But when it comes to the athlete mindset, when it comes to reaching those dream careers in sport that you are trying to achieve, the main things I want you to take away from this is this takes work every day. And if you're not sure how to do that work, get onto YouTube, search develop an athlete mindset, get onto Google, search develop an athlete mindset, watch videos of Kobe Bryant. And like, he's one of my favorite ones. There are other athletes out there as well. But the other thing is watch videos of CEOs, watch videos of Gary Vaynerchuk, watch videos of Dan Locke. That was the guy I was talking about earlier today with the video I was watching on the law of attraction. All of these people have so many tools for you to develop that mindset you need to reach whatever level in your sport you want to reach. And if you're able to develop this mindset, if you're able to reach these new levels, then again, every piece of your career that you want to happen is possible for you. So that is it. That is all. I hope you took something away from this. I hope you learned something. If you did, I would love to know what it is. Make sure to drop a comment if you're here right now. Make sure to send me a message if you're listening to this back on the podcast, or if you're watching this back on the YouTube channel. Whatever way you are consuming this show, I would love to know what your takeaways are. Make sure to send me a message. Make sure to let me know. And I appreciate everybody who took the time to tune in today. Thank you so much for doing that. I look forward to talking to you all again very soon.